lot of people don't know is he was inspired by Hitchcock's The Wrong Man. And also another 1976 film called The Bigger Splash or something like that, The Big Splash or something. It was kind of a European artsy film that was controversial. But The Wrong Man, I did look into that. And it is an Alfred Hitchcock film. And even in the opening poster kind of reminds me a little bit of Taxi Driver. But believe it or not, Martin Scorsese was trying to kind of create a movie that was kind of like a dream. So a lot of people don't realize that. It wasn't necessarily supposed to be a docudrama. It was supposed to be a narrative. And it was a narrative, and it comes off as a narrative. And it does come off as a dream, almost. There is a dream quality that floats through a lot of it. So it's not just Harvey Keitel that's important, but it's also Jodie Foster, too. Her performance is very important, and the connection between Travis Bickle and Iris is absolutely important. Sybil Shepherd's important. It's kind of an ensemble piece. Also Albert Brooks and all these different actors that are actually in it play a very, very important part. Even the extras, the man falling dead on the sidewalk and being pulled into the convenience store. Every little thing, all the extras and everything that happens, the conversation he has in the lobby of the movie theater and the cinema about, trying to get he's hitting on the ladies, being charming around the lady, and then he ends up just getting the candy instead and going into the dirty movie house, And then, all the scenes and the components, they all kind of, in a way, they reveal the character of Travis Bickle, but it's all kind of laid out. I think Scorsese was trying to lay it out as kind of like a dream. Films I think of, personally, is Pickpocket. I think of that film. Because of the isolation, if you've ever seen The Pickpocket. But there's a lot of comparisons to Travis Bickle's character in Notes from the Underground. I've heard that too. Dostoevsky. There's a lot of different films. I'm going to have to go see The Wrong Man, which is Alfred Hitchcock film, and see what they were talking about. I'm still reading up on some aspects of Taxi Driver. But to this day, I personally have not been affected by a film. Now, another film that affected me that was similar in a character study film was Life Lessons with Nick Nolte, that also Scorsese did. That also is kind of a character study of a painter. This is a character study, of course, of a taxi driver, But I suggest go see Life Lessons. It's with Nick Nolte. Arquette's in it. Great film. Great character study, too. And I think Scorsese is kind of the master of character study. Just like Hitchcock was the master of suspense, I think Scorsese, he's kind of a master of character study. But yeah, if you're an actor or even a filmmaker or even a writer, you got to check out Taxi Driver. Bernard Herrmann, this was his last picture. Bernard Herrmann was composer, mostly worked with Alfred Hitchcock. Bernard Herrmann, this was the last thing he got to do. And this film is actually dedicated to Bernard Herrmann. But the most important, I think, like I always say, the most important aspect, I think, of Taxi Driver, other than the acting and the writing and stuff, is actually the music. Because it's a great example, like David Lynch has talked about, you want to score a film, or you want to set a film at certain points, at least, at certain times, to music. You want to use music, if you can. You don't have to, it's not required, but you can use music. And this is a great example from the opening frame, from the opening credits to the closing credits, where music is put into a film that holds your attention almost, completely like a ballet. It goes from the very beginning to the very end and sweeps through the movie perfectly, beautifully. And Bernard Herrmann scored this beautiful piece. And I actually have it. I have the soundtrack. I'll see if I can. My second wife organized all my soundtracks. So let me go grab it, and I'll show you the soundtrack. Here it is right here. It's Bernard Herrmann. You can see music composed and conducted by Bernard Herrmann. And this was, the jewel was taken, so it's without the jewel. She took the jewels off of a lot of the music. But it gives a long information about Scorsese. So that I can understand here about The Bigger Splash, because he's a sexually frustrated man. He's a misfit. So he's in a city. This is also considered a holy crusade to clean up the sewers of New York. He saves the life of a 12-year-old prostitute, Jodie Foster, who's known as Iris. It reminds him of his values of his youth that are now absent. After his climatic catharsis of violence, Bickle returns to his job the next morning, appearing somewhat calm. But for how long? Scorsese ends the film without imposing a moral statement, choosing instead to offer his understanding of Bickle's response to the abysmal culture he is hopelessly part of. This was actually published. Here's some of the stuff here. I'm trying to get the published date on this particular one. Sybil Shepherd plays Betsy. Peter Boyle is Wizard. That's another great moment in and even Scorsese's in it. Jodie Foster's Albert Brooks. Tom is played by they call him. No, I'm sorry. Albert Brooks plays Tom. Harvey Keitel plays Sport. They just say Harvey Keitel. They don't say who he played. But his character's name was Sport. He was the pimp. Leonard Harris was Peter Bull. Well, no, Peter Bull is Wizard. I don't know what they mean by Leonard Harris. I hope that's not his name. That is very strange. Let me look at this for a minute. A Bill Phillips production of a Martin Scorsese film. Jodie Foster doesn't give her character name. She's Iris. Albert Brooks as Tom. It just says Harvey Keitel. Then it just goes and says Leonard Harris. And then it says Peter Boyle as Wizard. That's very strange. So I don't know why it just jumps over to Leonard Harris. I'm going to have to watch the film. I used to have the screenplay. I think I still do. I know I used to have it. I don't know if I sold it. I'd have to look here. I have a few screenplays here. I used to have the actual screenplay. I must have sold it. I sold the screenplay. But I still have Children of Paradise. But I used to have, you can actually access the screenplay. It's public domain online. This is the soundtrack here. So it should give some information on a copyright date. This could be probably worth a little bit of money. This is the actual DVD. The Jewel, which my second wife got, probably has the copyright date. Nope, it has it right here, 1967. No, I'm sorry, 1976. Sorry about that. 1976. 1976. And this is Bernard Herrmann. It was manufactured in the USA. Veris Sarabon digital original soundtrack. I wish I had that Jewel though. It would have a barcode on it, so that would be even more information. I don't understand the whole Leonard Harris thing. I'll have to look up on that. I'm going to look it up, look at the cast list, and I may get back with that. Now, this is Paul Schrader. He was a UCLA grad. Probably someone who knew Milius, or at least heard of Milius. He was a film critic, so he had written a lot of stuff on film and got Scorsese's attention with this script. And Scorsese, he just felt this was the thing to do. So he got in touch with Paul Schrader. Paul Schrader flew to New York and sat, and they talked together. And I heard Schrader got really method on writing this script. He had actually gone in to certain movie theaters and stuff to study, to write the script. And there were probably dirty movie theaters. Now this is Bernard Herrmann's music. So he's the composer for Alfred Hitchcock, but it was his last piece. So he died after this movie was made, and this movie was actually dedicated to Bernard Herrmann. Michael Phillips and Julia Phillips were the producers at the time. They did have 1.8 million, which wasn't a whole lot back then. I was reading it. I thought that was a whole lot back then, but that really wasn't to make a film. But they were still able,
They were able to pull this film off very well, and they were able to make a heck of a profit. They made a $26 million profit. So a total of $28 million in the box office back in 1976. It was directed by Martin Scorsese. I don't know if Scorsese had any kind of assistant director. He probably, I don't know if Shoemaker, it doesn't give the editor on this. I'll have to find out if he had any kind of assistant director. There's something here though. A production service by Devon Persky Bright. I'm really glad I have this thing. I bought it on a whim thinking, you know, you buy certain things sometimes on a whim. Now, I gotta tell you, I did get rid of a lot of stuff when I got baptized. And it was probably the screenplay. I got rid of The Last Temptation of Christ. And there was a lot of things I got rid of so I could, you know, be baptized and not have any of that stuff in my life. I did keep this secretly. I probably didn't know I had it. This is just a soundtrack only. So I did probably keep, I didn't feel the soundtrack was evil in any way. You know, the movie's gruesome. So I had to get rid of a lot of things to go into my baptism. And I think I got rid of like maybe 10 Martin Scorsese films. I probably got rid of Taxi Driver too. Then later on I went back and rebought it. Because I felt that I was trying to be too holy thou art. And I felt that I felt wrong not, because I love the film. And I felt later on I went back and I purchased the film. I do have a copy of it. And it kind of made me mad. And I went back to Walmart. And I just said, God will just have to forgive me, you know. But I keep a lot of this stuff. I keep a lot of my music in these things right here, which is it's a case. So it's like opens like this. It shows a lot of the music that I have. And I should get a separate jewel for this one, but I'll put it probably in here. Actually put this in here, this. There we go. And then I'll just put this at the top right here. Like that. That's how it looks when it's in the jewel. But anyway. There it is right there. I'll get a jewel for it some other time. She just wanted to work. She's an organized freak, so she wanted to organize everything. The one I went back and I bought. Let's see if I can find it. Look at this light right here. If I turn the camera light on, it'll turn the camera off. He's right here. This one. So this is the one I went and I got again. And it's the one I originally had. So I had a one that was pretty much the exact one. I sold it and I went and got baptized. About maybe 3 or 4 years later, I was walking through Walmart and there it was. The same little thing on the end right here. And I bought it again. I don't remember how much I paid for it. I don't think it was too expensive. It shows the 1976 renewed 2004 Columbian Pictures. So it's a 2004 copy. It also has a 2007 layout and design, Sony Pictures. So this is kind of the design on it. It has a little thing, so it goes into your shelf. And then it shows Iris and Bickle. I mean, this is, every filmmaker has to own something like this. Now, this is basically the feature film on this disc right here, and it shows the 2004. So it's, you know, it's fairly old. It's not brand new. This is back 2007 when the layout was designed. So it's the same one. I've watched it before. I don't really watch it that much because I don't want to wear this one down. I usually watch it on digital or something like that, or streaming. And this is the special features. Now, these are hard sometimes to get a hold of because each year they do special features that are different. And this will talk about a lot of information about the film going from the 1976, of course, and then the 2004 Columbia Picture Industry, the renewal. So they renewed it. So this is kind of a celebration of the renewal. And I found it again. I said, God will just have to forgive me. I'm going to go back and buy it. And it was one of the first things before I would get back into loving filmmaking to a point where I could write screenplays and things like that. And I just felt absent without having a love for cinema and a love for filmmaking because of not only its beauty, but because of what it can do to your soul, what it can do to you as a person. And I'm glad that he made this film because he not only showed the world what a filmmaker can do, but he showed God. And I hope God's proud. Anyway, so this is an important film. I'm always gonna be a fan of it. I'm not gonna be ashamed. I'm not gonna, lie and say that I'm, that I'm not into that. And then I'm gonna put this film back right here with my other collection, Scorsese's. And, it's just like, I'm doing a little 12-minute review, or actually probably more than that. But, filmmakers, they just have to express. And that's exactly what Travis Bickle does. I like that name too, Bickle. It means something, I've always thought, what does that name mean?